hesitation I often see comes as a form of waiting for permission from someone. So it's waiting for that like perfect moment, or worrying about how others will perceive their ambition. And so the reality is, as we know, Black women earn just still 63 cents for every dollar earned by a white man. And that gap is already steep, and it's getting steeper, especially if you're a mother, right?
Hey, I'm Teen Zekas, your pivot and pay strategist. I help Black women double their income by leveraging their existing skills. I am all about getting Black women paid, whether you're an employee or a business owner. And you're listening to the Getting Black Women Paid podcast. Let's go. Hello and welcome to the Getting Black Women Paid podcast. I'm your host, Teen Zekas, international speaker, award-winning author, founder and CEO of Getting Black Women Paid, and your Audacity coach. We have an incredible guest episode for you today. I would love to introduce our guest and get right into it. Khiara Cureton is an executive career and money coach dedicated to helping ambitious mothers step into executive leadership, increase their earning potential, and build financial freedom without sacrificing their personal lives. As the founder of Khiara Co., Khiara provides career strategy, salary negotiation coaching, and leadership development to empower women to own their ambition. With a background in operations leadership and corporate strategy, she has firsthand experience navigating the challenges that women face in breaking into executive roles, advocating for higher salaries, and balancing career success with motherhood. Her passion? Helping high-achieving women stop playing small, start earning what they deserve, and take up space in leadership and wealth-building conversations. Without further ado, let's get right into our conversation. Well, Khiara, thank you so much for joining us.
Teen, thank you so much for having me. I love the energy of this show, and truly how it creates a space for Black women to own our brilliance and our money unapologetically. And I'm happy to sprinkle in some motherhood aspects in our conversation today as well.
Yes, ma'am. Oh, well, thank you so much. You know, I'm so excited for this conversation, but before we dig into all of my questions, I always like to start with, your origin story. So how did you come to be doing the work that you do?
Absolutely. So I'm Khiara Cureton, founder and executive career and money coach for ambitious mothers at Khiara Co. I started Khiara Co because I was a traditional traveling Monday through Thursday consultant in 2019. And I've always been an ambitious woman. And I think ambition means different things for different people at different seasons of your life as well. And I was at a crossroads because I was getting ready to go for promotion in the consultant world. And we also found out that we were expecting at the end of 2019, which, all translated into 2020. And so I felt like I was at a crossroads of, I've worked so hard to get to a certain level in my career, but then now there's this personal aspect of life that's happening, becoming a mother for the first time. And I felt really at odds about what to do. And I didn't want to do one at the expense of the other. And so I had I had mentors that I spoke to about my career. And then we had a financial advisor who I felt is more future focused versus the right here, right now. But I didn't feel like I had someone in my life that was talking about both holistically and how to approach that. And so I created what didn't exist. And now I work with mothers who, again, with that identity shift, what society and the systems are telling us we should do. So that's really my mission, and what drives me and my work at Anchor is really to be that support for women who are like, hey, I don't want to have to choose between one or the other. I want to figure out how to integrate both.
Oh, I love that so much. And I really think the best businesses come from, I built what wasn't there for me.
Right.
And so I know exactly how you're feeling because I was there too. I love that. And, when I'm picturing you at this sort of crossroads, I think about, you always talk about, the high cost of hesitation,
Mhm.
you know, the waiting, the second guessing,
Mhm.
or holding back, you know, what it actually costs women in terms of money and opportunity. And I'm wondering if you can break down for us like what that looks like in real life.
Absolutely. So to your point, hesitation is expensive, right? So um, in money, in time, and confidence, and especially particularly for Black women, um, hesitation I often see comes as a form of waiting for permission from someone. So it's waiting for that like perfect moment, or worrying about how others will perceive their ambition. And so the reality is, as we know, Black women earn just still 63 cents for every dollar earned by a white man.
Yeah.
And that gap is already steep, and it's getting steeper, especially if you're a mother, right? So the motherhood penalty and so forth. So every delayed ask, every paused pivot compounds into, potential six-figure earnings of loss of income over a period of time or a career.
Yeah.
So I know for me, I'll give you my real life example. Once I had my son, um, again, it was 2020, so it was a little different, but I just felt like, oh, I can't do both, right? Like I have to do one or the other. And I think about now, if I had boldly went in and said, listen, yes, I'm going to take my 3 months leave, and then I'm going to come back and hit the ground running because I have the support at home, or however, you set up your support at home once you have children, whether it's your village, your parents, your partner, etc., babysitters. Um, I just think about that, and not feeling like I had to prove myself. Right now that I am in this new identity, I probably left out a good like 35,000 on the table. And I've seen many of my clients do the same. Again, waiting to apply to executive roles until they literally check every box. I mean, there's literally statistics that say women will not apply unless all 10 boxes are checked, versus men, I believe it's at, they feel like they have to have 6 out of 10, right? While someone less qualified, you know, um, but bolder, right, in their ask and in their steps is still applying, right? So that's one thing personally. And then I've always also seen what the cost of hesitation is. So for me, some strategies that I kind of think through are: name the cost, right? So calculate it, whether it's a 10K raise delayed for 2 years, so that's $20,000 lost, or your time and that compounding effect. That's one thing we don't get back, unfortunately. And I feel like when I take my clients through that exercise, that is a number that really opens up their eyes, right? Also, I try to encourage shrinking your decision window. And what I mean by that is not sitting on something for a week, for a month. Say, listen, okay, I'm going to give myself 48 hours to talk to my mentors, peers, partner, myself, excuse me, and really get clear on, am I going to go with this decision or not? Am I going to go left or right? Don't hesitate. Don't let that hesitation drag you into analysis paralysis. And then the biggest thing here too, especially for women of color, is surround yourself with sponsors and peers who push you forward before you feel ready. Those people that are going to encourage you, that really know you, the value that you bring, the skill set that you have. Just surround yourself with those positive folks to say, hey, listen, Khiara, you got this. Like,
Yeah.
So those are just some quick little strategies that I kind of share with my clients to say, this is what the hesitation is costing you and how it's keeping you stuck right here. And how do we get to the other side of that?
Yeah. Wow. You touched on so many things. I want to kind of go back and highlight a few of them for our listeners in case they missed them. One was when you were talking about the supports that you can have to be able to be a mother and an ambitious person in your career. And it's not just, okay, do I have a partner who's going to support me?
Sure.
It's your village, it's your, maybe it's your parents, maybe it's babysitters, that we can build more of a support system than relying on maybe just one person. I also love that you actually calculate out that cost, right? I'll also work with clients and they'll say things like, well, in 3 months or in six, I have to stay for 6 months before I can do this, or I need to, a lot of these like kind of arbitrary
Mhm.
time limits that we put on ourselves. And I love the idea of really getting out a calculator and being like, okay, so if you could get 20 grand more starting next week instead of 6 months from now, how much more is that putting in your pocket, right? Like that really doing, I'm a math nerd, so I'm like, yes, really do the math, but like get that
pull out Excel.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And right. And even sometimes we'll say, well, I got to do this for a year before I can ask. Mm-hmm. Okay. And then now the next promotion is going to be a percentage on this one, right? That stuff compounds. And then I'm trying to think of what the other one that you mentioned was, the sponsors and the support system that's going to push you before you feel ready. Yes. I love that. I always talk about your hype squad.
Yeah.
Right? And you need that crew who's going to, pump you up. But part of it is saying like, I know you got this. Even if you don't feel it right now, I know you got it. You need to push forward, even though you don't feel ready. I love that so much. And then just a side note, my son was born in February 2020. So I'm
right there.
we were right there together through the very strange times of navigating parenthood and a very quickly changing world. But I do want to talk a little bit about one thing that a lot of us experience is getting kind of stuck in that like middle management zone. Right. And I'm wondering if you can talk to us about kind of why that happens. And then what's the first step to breaking through into like those executive level roles?
Absolutely. So I think there's a couple of reasons why I've seen some women get stuck in those middle management roles. One, you're so good at what you do that you're constantly getting the new projects or the additional work. And you're kind of like the go-to, right? And so you don't have the opportunity to be strategic and think about something else because you're just always getting, hey, this pushed across your desk and so forth, right? So that's one thing. Another thing is you don't feel ready or you don't feel like you can handle it. Although, especially mothers, right? Like how many times are we negotiating fruit snacks for breakfast or negotiating? I mean, I'm in this period of life where I'm like, go to the bathroom. Like, I know you're holding it. Go to the, the negotiation tactic. I swear motherhood is one of the best leadership development experiences that no course or no conference will teach you. So I joke when I say that, but it's true, right? There's a lot of things that spill over from motherhood, the prioritization of your responsibilities and what you're going to, your task and so forth. So that's another thing. And then also too is, kind of back to that, you can't be what you can't see, right? So there's not a lot of us women of color who are in these positions. And then even if you slap on the motherhood title, a woman of color who are in these positions where we see that it's achievable. So I think the one thing that I always encourage is really get quiet, even if it's 15 minutes before you got to go do, carpool pickup, is what do I want? And why do I want it, right? Because we want to make sure we're being driven by things that are internal, again, not systematic or that something is being pushed from our companies and so forth. So for me, I always knew, again, I've always been ambitious, if you will, but I just knew I wanted more. Like I knew I could do more. I knew I wanted more. And I also carry a little bit of I want to pull the person behind me. And so that's what really drove me to get into my current vice president role. And like I mentioned this, but I'm a vice president in healthcare. So I actually do live and breathe the work that I teach and coach. And so for me, once I got clear, like, okay, this is how I will handle the motherhood side, and this is how I will handle the career side, I made non-negotiables on both ends. And so I had to truly find a company that aligned with my non-negotiables, right? So that meant for me, like, I don't want to be traveling 90% of the time, right? Like my travel percentage is 25% a month. So that's just an example. And of course I have some other non-negotiables. And until I found that, trust me, I interviewed with quite a bit of different companies once I wanted to get out of consulting, and I just was not budging. I was like, this is what it is. Because you know what? At the end of the day, this is how I work best. This is how I feel most supported, which means I'm going to be an even more productive employee, right? If I'm stressed about all the other things, it doesn't work for either of us. So that is what I did. And I stuck to my non-negotiables. And I just found someone that was in alignment with where I wanted to be, how I wanted to mother, and how I want to show up as an executive as well. And then as far as the executive presence, it's just something that you have to just almost like fake it till you make it, right? Like I had to act before I even had the vice president title. I had to act like it, even if that meant I had to wear the blazer, you know, to just feel like I was executive or whatever executive meant in my head.
Yeah.
I had to speak the way I spoke or pull data or presented data, or I would ask for certain projects at work where I'm like, hey, can I speak to that hospital CEO? Can I present even this portion of the you know, the meeting? And
Yeah.
so, you know, you just really have to, again, start, I believe in starting internal, because that's what's going to drive you ultimately. And then taking those little, I'm all about micro habits. I'm not someone who's like, yes, we're going to change this overnight, but build those micro habits to get to a certain point, and then you'll literally be like, wow, like I'm surprising myself, you know, in all of this. So
Oh, girl, you are dropping so many gems. I'm trying to keep up because I want to make sure I highlight those for folks. If you know, if folks are driving in their car, they might have missed something. The first thing that really struck me was the idea of being quiet with yourself, getting quiet with yourself, and
so
really
hard to do.
taking, I know, but taking the time to think about what you want,
Yes.
and not what you think other people expect from you, but what are your values? What is it that you want? And then building those non-negotiables on both sides. I love that too, right? It's not just the non-negotiables in the job, it's also the non-negotiables at home. And then really doing the work to find that place that's going to honor those things, because as you said, you're going to do your best work for them
Right.
if they're meeting all of your needs as well. And so it is that kind of win-win. That's what I always talk about in negotiations is, right, we want a win-win scenario because that's what benefits both parties the most. And then I love the idea of those kind of micro habits, you know, changing a little bit at a time, and you gotta fake it till you make it in terms of that confidence, that presence, right?
Yes.
You know, I used to tell people, you know, you want to walk into a room like you own it, and if that feels uncomfortable, just practice your strut, right? Like just
That's like part of it. Yeah. Whether it's the handshake, whether it's the way, you know, your posture, like just build every week, just try something different and just build that confidence.
Absolutely.
It takes time. Trust me. I still am in meetings with healthcare, you know, admin teams, and my voice is still, I'm like, and then I, you know, still a little shaky. And then after the fact, I'm like, oh, Khiara, you should have done this. And I was like, you know what? No, guess what? You're already the only in the room. Okay. Representing.
Right.
That's number one. And it was fine. You know, like the point got across, you presented well, it was fine, but we're our harshest critics. Right.
Absolutely. So. Absolutely. And, you know, you had me cracking up when you were talking about negotiating fruit snacks for breakfast, but I do want to talk about negotiating. You know, we gotta talk about the money, obviously.
Yes.
And I'm wondering, you know, like what's the number one mistake that you see women making in salary negotiation, and how can they flip that to secure the salaries and the benefits that they really deserve?
So the first thing I would say is not truly understanding what is all included in your benefits. So that's number one. I know naturally we think vision, dental, health, but what else is there? Is there loan repayment? Is there daycare reimbursement? Is there travel? I mean, there is literally a full list that I've created. And I think right now I'm at 73 different benefits that exist, and that you could also use. For example, if you're like, hey, I want XYZ salary, but they're like, no, it's 20, let's say they can only give you 20,000 what you're asking. You say, okay, well, what about this, right? What are the benefits? And again, back to that calculating what is the cost. And it's not always just the money in the base. There's other things, right? So that's one thing. Truly understanding, do you have a match? At what percentage? Do you have to be vested? Truly understanding your benefits. I feel people just don't understand benefits, which, don't get me wrong, it is convoluted and it can be very confusing, but that's why you just ask all your questions. And then the second thing is truly undercutting your value. And it comes from this mentality of, I should just be grateful for what I have. I don't think that's bad either, but that mentality is not going to pay the bills, right? So
Correct.
if you know you have 15 plus years of experience and you bring XYZ skill set to the table, stick to that, because I promise you it may take some time, especially in today's environment, but you will find the company and the role that is like truly in alignment with the money ask, the the personal side of it, as well as the career fulfillment. And so I like to take everyone through an exercise back to the money. And that's what I love about, my coaching is I truly blend your career desires with your personal finance. We're not talking about retirement. I mean, that's important and so forth, but I mean the right here, right now. So two exercises that I take everyone through is I ask them to fill out, basically, you can call it a budget, spending plan, whatever you prefer to call it. But I ask folks, okay, what do you think you're spending on these different categories? And then the gold comes where we have our first meeting, and it's a 2-hour meeting, and we screen share and we go through every line item of the last 3 months of your bank accounts. Because people just don't have that awareness, especially nowadays, right? Like we swipe. We don't have the dollars to say, ooh, I had 20, now I have 5. We don't feel that same sense.
Yeah.
And so that is truly an eye-opening exercise that I do with people. And I start there because you can go about it 2 ways when you're asking for salary. You can either try to reduce your expenses, right? Or essentially you probably need to make more money, right? And so you got to know where you are right now before you know what to ask for. So that's part one of kind of where I go through with, understanding your money story. What, some people make $300,000 and still don't see a dime at the end of the month, right? So what are those habits? What is that money story that you're carrying? And then we translate that into, okay, well, I know I want to live in XYZ city. I want to plan to have 2 kids, etc., like the life stuff. And then we get to our magical number of what is our salary ask, right? And then we, of course, ask for more than that because, of course, it's probably going to be a negotiation. Right. So those are some of the things and some of the exercises that I walk through with my clients. But it's just make the ask. It's going to be a negotiation. It's fine. This is business at the end of the day. But don't undercut your value just because you really want a particular job, unless it's truly in alignment and fulfilled with what you want to do in your career. Yeah. But that's usually not the answer. It's usually again, to make more money. Now I'm not talking about toxic environments and things like that. There are certain situations where it's like, okay, like I just need out right now for my own mental health and sanity. But ultimately, it's to make the ask.
Oh my goodness, I love that so much, and I love that you really kind of hold folks' hands through. Yeah, let's do every line item and actually add this up because. Again, I'm a math nerd. I love a spreadsheet, but most people I feel are not all up in their finances like that.
Correct.
And to actually have someone with you to kind of, help you really conceptualize all of this stuff and put it together and say, oh, okay, like my quality of life revolves around a certain number. There's an amount that will improve my quality of life, and I need to ask for that amount. Like that kind of stuff, I think can really be life-changing in terms of our perspective and our courage to make the ask. So I love that you really walk people through that. And I know that you also help women kind of beyond that paycheck to start building wealth.
Yes.
And I'm wondering, again, we're not necessarily talking about, one specific goal. I think a lot of us always talk about retirement, right? But
right.
But I guess I'm wondering, like, what's like a practical way that working moms can start creating long-term wealth right now?
Yes. So I think wealth, what I always start with, what does wealth mean to you? Because for me, does it mean money? Sure. But it also means time at this point in my life where I have aging parents, I have young kids, I have myself that I have to also take care of because, I can't pour from an empty cup. And so for me, that narrative is shifting a little bit for time, towards time with what wealth means. But in the traditional sense, yes, retirement, but I'm a little far from retirement. But for me, it's been investing. And what does that mean? Like investing felt so big and scary because I'm like the NASDAQ, the this, the that, like, what do you pick at what percentage? How much do I put? Like, it was so overwhelming to me. And that was another reason why I got into this work as well, because I was like, I just want to understand this, you know? And so even if that means, you know, $10 a paycheck, right? Or if you could do more than that, fine, whatever. But the biggest thing here, back to our theme of time, when it comes to investing, the biggest gift is time because of that overall compounding effect. So what I tell women is, again, not even tell them, but what I ask them is, what's important to you, right? Is it paying for your child's college? Is it making sure that you are fully funded for retirement because there are no loans for retirement, right? Is it you want your house paid off? What it truly is personal because everyone's goals is a little bit different. Yeah. But I know for me in particular is I set a goal that I wanted to start our son off on his adult life like debt free, right? Because I got, you know, I got undergrad, I got, you know, well, undergrad is done, but, graduate loans and, you know, just buying the house. My first house was I didn't want my son to have to do that. So for me, my two biggest things were retirement, and then setting him up initially debt free. And that means college paid, a nice used car, and then a little bit of a down payment on his first home. And so for me, I created very specific buckets where we are pushing money towards every, paycheck and so forth. But I think don't let investing be scary. It could be as little or as much as you like it to, but that's truly, I wanted a set it and forget it method. And that's what I feel like with mothers, with all we have going on, all that we're juggling, right. Unless you have time to literally watch the markets, to me, that is the most simplest way that you can make sure you're building wealth to support whatever your personal goals may be with that money.
Yes. I love that. It's focused on what your personal goals are and figuring out a way to be building towards that in some at least small amount every check, every month, or whatever it is. Right. And I love the set it and forget it. We have an auto, yes. and an auto deposit for the kids' college funds, right? Right. You know, $25 a month. It's not a lot, but it is, and it's building over time, right?
Exactly.
And I don't have to think about it every day.
Right. You don't have to remember to push the money. I love back to those micro habits. I'm all about automating what makes sense to be automated. And that's definitely one thing that I'm like, automate it. It's easy.
Yeah. I love it. Oh my goodness, lady, I could talk to you forever, but I have one more question before we tell folks kind of how to reach you. I'm just wondering if you can kind of, like, if you could go back to talk to like the younger version of yourself, mm-hmm. maybe right after you found out you were going to be a mother and you were trying to figure out this career and parenthood thing, unsure how you're going to balance it all. I'm wondering, what would you tell her about the path that she's about to walk?
You are going to be so proud of yourself once you stop and actually reflect on all that you've already accomplished. The path is already set for you. You just have to have the faith to take that first step, and you'll be guided through the rest of your way through friends, peers, coworkers, your faith. So stop stressing, girl. Chill out. It's going to work out.
Oh, I know someone listening felt that to their core. Thank you for that. And so, before I let you go, I know that you do have resources at Anchor Co. And so I'm wondering if you can share with our listeners, how they can connect with you and how they can learn more about the resources you provide.
Absolutely. Please reach out. Don't be a stranger. I love having conversations in the DMs. You can email me. But my website is www.anchor, and that's ANCHER co.com. And then I'm also on Instagram at the THE Anchor Co. So reach out, please. I love to have these conversations, especially for our women of color. I'd love to be a support and a resource.
Oh, wonderful. And we'll have that website in the show notes as well as the social medias. Is there any particular platform that you're like most active on or you're most likely to
Honestly, this is probably bad, but I've set the notifications for all of them, so they all come to me. So
Beautiful.
I would say maybe Instagram, but if you send me an email, it'll get to me as well too. So yeah.
All right. So we'll make sure we have all of that in the show notes. Please reach out. Khiara, thank you so much for joining us today. I am, I was taking down these gems as well, but I feel like the work that you do is just so crucial for mothers. I mean, it's an issue that our society, like we are just not set up well to support mothers. And
not at all.
And households really can't survive usually on one income. And
correct.
I just think the work you're doing is so crucial, and I'm so honored that you were able to share your time with us today.
Thank you so much. And yes, I feel the very same way. I always say that companies, when they don't invest in their motherhood or parents, they're losing a big opportunity because.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So thank you so much for having me. This is a great conversation.
Oh, absolutely. And thank you to all of you for joining us, and we will see you in the next one. Hey, thanks for listening to the Getting Black Women Paid podcast. If you want to hear more episodes like this one, subscribe wherever you're listening now. And if you love what you heard, be sure to leave us a review. And make sure you share this podcast with the incredible Black women in your life so we can continue getting Black women paid. All right, we'll see you in the next one.